right, my guest today is my partner, Connor Steinbrook. He went from being a professional poker player to founding the Wolfpack Organization at eXp, which has grown to over 3,300 agents worldwide. He's ranked as one of the top leaders in the entire company, and his story is all about resilience, leadership, and creating freedom through duplication. So, Connor, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. How are you today?
I'm well. How are you? Thank
I'm
you for having
good,
me on
thanks.
the
Yeah,
show.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
So, can you touch a little bit more about your being a professional poker player from doing that to founding one of the fastest growing organizations at eXp and what mind shift made that possible?
Yeah, so I kind of, I guess, went the opposite route in life and kind of went down the non-traditional route of a 9 to 5 job. But kind of how my life started was I was in sports a lot when I was growing up, football,
Mhm.
baseball, basketball, lacrosse, soccer. So I was one of those kids where every day I had either two games or two practices. And so that consumed basically my entire life. And then when I went off to college, all that ended abruptly. I had some injuries, so I stopped playing sports and have all this extra time, but I'm still have that competitive nature. And what happened was I was a freshman in college, and some of you guys that follow the poker world, Chris Moneymaker won the World Series of Poker my freshman year of college. And so he turned a $40 what's called satellite tournament into a bigger $10,000 main event seat. And then he
Oh,
won the
wow.
big ESPN world title WSOP main event, the $10,000 buy-in that you guys watch on TV every summer, and made a few $1 million. And what happened was online poker, just like EXP, technology infused into a brick and mortar business model and accelerated the pace of how people could play the game. And there was what's called the online poker boom. And I was at the freshman kind of starting floor of that wave. And I started playing for like pennies and dollars and tens of dollars and hundreds of dollars and thousands and tens of thousands. And then I worked my way up and was one of the top online poker players in the world for from I guess 2003 to 2011. And then if you guys know what happened in 2011, that's when the US government shut down the big websites. There was what was called the UGIE Act,
Mhm.
IEA Act, can't even say it. But these sites were not being regulated, and there's also some shisty stuff going on with them. And so the government basically shut them down. And so I went from working every day, all day, trying to achieve a goal, and just now where I was getting paid for my efforts. And then I woke up one day to the next, and my life was completely gone. Imagine if we turned off or woke up tomorrow and the real estate industry was turned off forever. Turn in your licenses, turn in your
Yeah,
rental properties, our lives are all gone. So it'd be like the Wolfpack disappeared, the XP disappeared, the real estate industry disappeared, real estate investors disappeared, literally
right.
without warning. And that's what happened to me as a young kid. And I made some bad decisions and I gambled off all my money and I got myself into debt. And then I had to move back home with my parents and tuck tail. So I went from having this pretty great life as a young kid, sports cars, diamond watches, doing anything and everything I want, to now living in my sister's old bedroom trying to figure out what happened with my life. So if you guys are at a down moment in your life, you can make comebacks, and actually that's a better part of your story. But I struggled for a couple of years and it was a dark moment in my life and I was really lost. I was going trying to figure out different directions to go. I went into insurance for a little bit. But then when I realized poker was never going to come back the way it was, I decided I had to pick a different path. And that's when I started looking into other paths that wealthy people took. And I realized I wanted to build passive income. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. And that's when I wanted to become a real estate investor and buy rental properties. But I
Okay.
wasn't bank financeable. I didn't have money. So I started out doing what's called wholesaling houses. So I was a wholesaler first. And then I started building up my business after struggling for a long time. Basically, what happened was I started flipping houses and then I moved into buying rentals. Then I went into the creative financing space. I started creating owner finance notes and selling discounted notes. I was doing mobile homes on land and a lot along the way. But during this time, two pivotal things happened in my life when I was on rock bottom. For one, I came back to my faith, and then two, I came across personal development. And so what happened was I stumbled across Napoleon Hill's black and white recordings of his 17 principles of success. And this is what started a long path in personal growth and personal development. And I started reading and following anybody I could along this line, like Bob Proctor, Les Brown, Zig Ziglar, Earl Nightingale, Napoleon Hill, Brian Tracy. And this is where I consumed my personal education that led me to my success in business in the real estate space. Now, along the way, I was building my investment business. A lot of people kept trying to ask me for help doing so. And at the time, I was tired of repeating myself saying the same thing to everybody that was asking me the same questions. And so I was like, well, there's this thing called YouTube. What if I just film a video of explaining like the burst strategy? And so now I just do it one time and I have this link. And when people ask me, I just give them the link because it's free. And that's kind
Yeah.
of what started my path on YouTube. And then eventually I ended up building what's called Investor Army, which was at one point, I think it was like we were like the fifth or sixth largest investment channel in North America. And so I was very successful with my investment business. And as that channel started to grow, a lot of people started reaching out to me about eXp Realty. I'm like, what's eXp? Had no idea. Wasn't licensed agent. I was trying to blow it off and wasn't really giving people the time because I didn't really understand what was going on with it. And then I was speaking at an owner financing conference event in Mississippi. So I had to go speak at an event, and the event promoter put me up into kind of like an Airbnb property and with a couple of the other speakers. And it was like midnight, and I'm sitting there, and this guy walks in, just a normal looking guy, midnight coming in, just kind of walking in, it's just like, hey, how's everybody doing? And I don't know who this guy is. And he starts talking to me about what I'm doing there. And I'm like, well, what are you doing here? He's like, I'm gonna be talking about eXp. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And like, I need to go sleep. I'm getting tired, trying to get out of there. But I'm glad I didn't, because the man's name was Rob Flick. And some of you guys know
Oh,
Rob Flick. He's the number one team builder in the history of the real estate industry, building teams. He built top 15 team in the history of Keller Williams through the override model. And he was number one at eXp and still number two, and has built bigger real estate businesses than anybody in the world. So he was showing me what was going on with EXP, explaining why he left KW, and showed me that he was making over $100,000 a month with this revenue share model in just a few years. And I said, if you prove it to me, just like that movie Wolf of Wall Street, you prove to
yeah.
me, like that diner scene. He's like, you proved to me you make 72K a month. I was like, you proved to me you're making 100K a month in recurring incomes with a recurring income stream with no debt, no tenants, no toilets, no back-end management system. I'll go get a license and I'll use my leverage of my channel on a national platform to help you grow this. And he showed me his bank account, and I said, it's on. And so I got my real estate license, and this was, I guess, going into December 2018. And
Okay.
so my first year, I think I sponsored 40 people personally, and we ended up with like 151 agents. Second year, we doubled to 300. Third year to 600. Fourth year to 1,400. And now, like you're saying, we're well over 3,000 agents. We sell thousands and thousands of houses a year, billions and billions of dollars of sales. And we are the fastest growing organization in the world currently right now at the biggest independent brokerage, known as the Wolfpack Organization. And Meg is one of our top leaders, and that's why we're doing a podcast, because she's a friend of mine. She asked me to pop on here. But I know that's a lot real fast. But any of that you want to go deeper into, I'd be glad to kind of elaborate on. But that's kind of a
Um,
quick rundown of how I got here.
no, that was perfect. I love that. And I think it's great for people to hear because I think there's a whole mindset of um a lot of people are you don't come from rock bottom, right? People just think like, oh, you are set on this path that maybe from childhood or even into your adult years, you're given some sort of um, extra sauce or, some special treatment. And I definitely can relate to that because I have a very similar story where coming from like nothing basically.
Yeah.
And this business has totally changed my life. So I think that was great. Um, when you started, I'm going to go back to Investor Army a little bit. So you built that. So how did creating content shift you from being an agent to a leader?
Uh, yeah, so I'll answer that, but let me go back to one thing you said there I think may help
Yeah,
people. So, when I was coming up pursuing success, until you have success, you always question, is it possible for you? And
100%.
I grew up in, like I was always had just like a middle class family, great parents, never had to worry about food, but we didn't have like big
The
vacations and things like that.
extras, yeah.
But I grew up in an area called Plano West, which is also where I got the Wolfpack brand, my high school, the Wolfpack or the Wolves. But there's a lot of wealthy families around us, and kids were driving like sports cars and getting Porsches for their 16th birthday. And I just remember driving all around and seeing all these houses and wealthy people and just being like, is it possible for an average person to actually achieve this without cheating, without scamming? Is
Oh
it
yeah.
straight up path? And then I just had this profound like understanding at one point. Not everybody can be a drug dealer. Not everybody can have inherited money and be a trust fund baby. Not all these people had something going on that was unethical or just passed down to them. There has to be a path that some of these people are doing. It's not the 9 to 5 path. And then just the simple belief system that if they can do it, I can do it, and I know that I can do it, is all that you guys need to start out. So I want you guys to understand, if you're watching this right now, I didn't come from anything special, no handouts, nothing, and you can do it. Like it's possible to achieve big successes. Now, as far as YouTube and leadership, uh, leadership's about communication. It's about putting yourself first and painting a path for people to go down with hope and faith and the ability to have a path to walk down long enough that's going to get them to the point where they're trying to get to in life. So there can be
Yeah.
leaders in football, there can be leaders in politics, there can be leaders in business, but it's somebody looking up at somebody who's lived the life path that they want to live, saying, I want to follow in that person's footsteps, and we lead by actions, not by words. But by getting out on YouTube, for example, like what you're doing now with what you're doing, you've seen Mike do this, you've seen me do this, you've seen other people do this. So you've seen people come before you with the life path that you're now following behind. And you said, if they can do it, I can do it, which is all that simple process is. But that's why belief is so crucial for success because most people have the belief system, well, they did it, but I can't. Or they did it,
Right.
but they did it some wrong way or some ethical way that I'm not going to do it. Or they had some handout or they had some family relationship or they caught a lucky break. And if people just understand there is no luck, there is no lucky breaks, it's just hard work, consistency, and discipline, you're going to get there. They're going to put more effort into achieving it. But
Yeah.
leadership is about controlling the message. And so by YouTube, you can expand your leverage by getting it out to more people. Y'all just saw what like Alex Hormozy did. He started, he built a huge business behind the scenes, but he couldn't help the masses until he got on social media. And that's what
Yeah.
got his voice out there. And so we live in a world where you now have influencers and high achievers out there that are willing to share and give information, which is a different time that this planet's ever seen before. Because if you think about the past, we're kind of this let's hate the rich, they hoard the information, they don't want to help, and all this type of stuff. It's just not true. You just have to understand how the world worked in the past. Let's say you had a couple wealthy families. Well, there's only so many seats at a dinner table. You can't have 5,000 people sitting at your dinner table. So not everybody's coming over. And if there's no transfer of information outside that dinner table from videos to think about how it had to go before word of mouth or print ads, newspapers or books, information just didn't get out. So now what happens is social media gives the ability for information to get out. And now you have a bunch of leaders using the platform out there to lead their communities, lead the country, lead their businesses, lead their teams. And it's just giving people the ability on a free platform to get their messaging out, to inspire others to kind of follow in their footsteps. And so the people like Grant Cardone's and all these people that kind of
Mhm.
early on in this, the PBDs, these are the thought leaders that normally you'd have to pay a lot of money. You can still pay them. They have paid, that's partly why they're out there, pay coaching businesses, but they also give out a bunch of free content. So I learned everything and anything I did about business by watching free YouTube channels and following people on the internet, getting free advice that I could never have otherwise if there wasn't a platform like it.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of what's great about our group too. It's like, whether you're in somebody's organization or not, I mean, we're all in the wolf pack, but because we've grown so much, I mean, I have people that, they're not in my upline or my downline, and I can reach out to them at any point for help or support. They reach out to me. I love our community and I love that it's borderless because I've never had that ever in any brokerage that and eXp is my fourth brokerage. So, I mean, I've dealt with quite a few different ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's great. And you guys are so wonderful with the way that you lead and help teach us too. So I appreciate that.
Well,
Um,
thank you.
Now, one of the things that you teach is duplication. Can you explain what you mean by that for those in this industry who may not know what that is?
Yeah. Well, I'll do it and I'll explain kind of like how to create wealth at the same time. So I created what's called the wealth quadrant back in like 2015, and I did this after my poker career ended. And the second part of the wealth quadrant is duplication. So as a young kid, I was making good money playing cards, but I never achieved like massive wealth. And so what happened after my poker career ended, I realized I had one income stream, and here now I have no way of creating income in one skill set. I'm in a lot of trouble. And so that's what really caused me to have major headaches in life. If I had been building a secondary business or rental portfolio or something on the side, if my poker career went away, I could have leaned on this. So the first part of the wealth quadrant, there's four boxes, is multiple streams of income. But I want you to understand what multiple streams of income is for. A lot of people think if they have more than one income stream, they're making more money. Now, yes, that can be true if they're all profitable income streams. But let's say you have 10 income streams that are net negative and you're losing 100K each. Or what if you have 10 that you're making 100K each? Or what if you have one that you're making a billion or one that you're losing a billion? So there's no relationship between income streams and income. But yes, if you have all profitable income streams, you're making more money. So what I realized was multiple streams of income is an insurance program for your primary income stream. So if you guys are top producing agents, you should build a team on the side. You should build a rental portfolio. You should have a secondary business because what happens if you can't produce that same income stream? So when my poker career ended, that's what that taught me. Now, the second box in the wealth quadrant's duplication. I realized that all the wealthy people that were around me had leveraged through something outside their individual efforts. They all ran big teams. They all owned multiple apartment complexes, storage units, mobile home parks, things like this. They did something with their time once that had repeatable processes behind it that created continuity of income behind it. So duplication is uh, leverage outside your individual efforts. So think about what YouTube does. So we can sit here on a call while we film this, trade our time 30 minutes or an hour to your 30 minutes to an hour. So we're trading my time to your time one to one as a time unit relationship. Now, when you put this on the internet, let's say 5,000 people watch it. That's 5,000 time units traded back to our one time unit that we both traded. So that's duplication, that's leverage. When I played poker, I had to show up and play. If I didn't make money. And I also had to show up and play if I was tired, if I was sick, if I felt bad. Sales agents, so same thing. You know, if they're going to work, they have to go sell. Now, what if you build a team and you can't sell this month because you're sick and you're in bed for a month? Well, now your team's out there working. So that's creating duplication. So you have something that's outside of your own personal efforts. Okay, but also it's something that can grow without your personal efforts. So let's say that you're sleeping, but your team's growing. Now it's duplicating. So in the team building world, there's kind of three levels to kind of grow a large organization. The first thing is you have to learn how to attract agents and grow your front line and build your business and our business small. So the second thing is you need to teach people how to do what you did, which is now starting the duplication process. So learn to attract, teach to attract, and now that you have people that you've taught to attract, now you need to teach them how to do what you did for them, which is teach them how to teach their agents how to attract, which is developing leaders. And so learn to attract, teach how to attract. And once you have business leaders that can teach their partners how to attract agents, that business is going to grow without you and duplicate. So the best businesses in the world, the person at the top of the business is rarely seen. They're rarely involved because that's what a real business is. It's running they built it to run without their individual effort. So you really need to think about how to do something that leverages your effort outside your own personal effort and your own personal time being traded into it. Now, the other two components to create wealth are the bottom two boxes, which are equity and residual income or passive income. These are the two things that will change your life. So when you look at wealthy people, they're not trading time out there one to one. They start that in the beginning of their career, but then they lead into equity models and cash flow models and passive income models. So let's look at why wealth is created through equity. Let's say you owned a few stocks and a few rentals. Like if you guys saw the stock market's way up today. I woke up and my net worth went up quite a bit today this morning because the stock market went up, but I was actually sleeping. Let's say I was driving down the road and got hit in a car wreck and went into a coma for 12 months and I woke up and the real estate market went up 20%, stock market went up. What that means is once you place yourself in an equity position, it can expand and it doesn't have your time allocated, doesn't need your time allocated to make it grow. So if the stock market goes up, I didn't make it go up essentially. So I'm becoming wealthier, but it's a time avoided income stream, meaning I'm not putting my time in to make it expand. And so this is how you create wealth. So how do you increase the time that you live in this world? How do people have more hours and more days and more years? You do things that expand around your individual time. So you got to start thinking about expansion. And then the other way that you can think about time and income streams is residual income. Think about if you build a rental portfolio, it may take years to do it, but once it's built, it's built. And now you only had to build it once. So anything that you can trade your time for once that pays you over and over and over, monthly recurring income streams, subscription sites, rev share businesses, rental portfolios is going to be your freedom maker. So this is what gave me my freedom at a young age is focusing solely on passive income. And how do I build something that comes in on a continuity like the waves of an ocean every single month? So these are the four things that you need to keep into consideration if you want to create wealth. Have more than one income stream. So if you have a lot of money coming in, say from your sales business, if everything falls apart, you can lean on these other income streams and it doesn't take you 7 years to get back on your feet like I did. Do something outside your individual efforts that duplicates, meaning have leverage, and then work for equity and work for passive income. And those four things, if you focus on those and have a primary foundation under your goals and your individual efforts, and you do it for long enough and never give up, you'll end up being wealthy. It's kind of the recipe for a cake for creating wealth. And it is that simple, but along the way, it's a lot of long days, a lot of stress, a lot of doubt, a lot of fear, a lot of pain, a lot of backstabbing, a lot of betrayals, and just a lot of things that don't go right. But those who
Yeah,
walk through that valley of the death and kind of eat those blows in the face and take it on the chin will come out the back end with a life that you could never have just falling into normal path, the 9 to 5 world.
absolutely. I actually just had this conversation yesterday because it's it's hard to build a business like that or in general, like entrepreneurship in general or getting into investments. To build wealth is not always easy. But the alternative is not easy either. So my big thing is like choose your hard, right? So whatever's going to get me to the end goal is the hard that I want to pick. Like, I don't want to do the basic 9 to 5, live paycheck to paycheck, and that's it for my life. I want to consistently grow. So I think that touches right along with what we learned too. Is like, I think that's what I love most about the wolf pack. It's not just real estate learning, it's whatever path you want to take to grow your business, and get into wealth and be stable and have, the life everybody that can be dreamt of is possible with the way that you guys teach it. So I think that's so great. Now, what micro habits or daily rituals help you stay consistent in leadership and growth?
Um, so they change over the years. You're gonna have all sorts of different like morning routines and habits and things like that. I'm pretty kind of out there. I try all sorts of anything and everything. I got like, red light sheets, and I do all that type of stuff, grounding, all that. Just over here, I got probably like 20 supplements that I take on a daily basis. If you're going to work, 12 to 18 hours a day, you're going to have to focus on your physical body. It's not just your mindset, it's you have to have mental health and physical health and they have to align. So I take a lot of different supplements to keep my body going. I have to, as I get older, I focus a lot on stretching. And so, for example, like my here at the World Series Poker, I have to get massages. Like it's not cheap, but I do multiple full body massages a week just to be able to kind of tolerate sitting there. And I know it's kind of crazy while you're sitting there at a table, but you get a lot of like repetitive motion injuries and things like that. But so I have kind of like physical routines that I do with stretching and wellness and staying hydrated and trying to get enough sleep because that's one of my problems. And I think a lot of people have sleep and hydration. These are the two things that if you guys just can focus on and we all do a bad job at it, this alone is going to be the biggest improvement for your health of anything that you can do. And then just like over the years, just a consistent highly focused effort to acquire knowledge and information. So at one point, I realized, in order to be successful, I'm not able to do it with as the person I am right now. But I realized at some point that humans can evolve and we can get better and stronger and bigger and faster and smarter. And so I said, I might not be able to be the person that can be successful today, but I could develop myself into that person that could be able to be successful tomorrow. And so that's when my personal growth journey took off, following people like Jim Rohn and things like that. People like that helped me understand that. So constant working on myself, studying, reading books on personal growth, following mentors, and just constantly acquiring skill sets and looking at myself as a sculpture essentially or a video game character that along my path. So like I have this vision of myself. I'm like this video game character going out there trying to prove myself. So I'm grabbing a potion over here, a magic sword over here, like a Zelda character or something like that. That's how my vision of myself is as I go through the world. And as I acquire communication skill sets and as I acquire understanding of time management and how to maximize and be more efficient, that's like grabbing a special potion. But eventually you build your character into someone that can become the king of the kingdom, essentially, right? Or the queen of the queendom. Queendom. I think I'm
Yeah.
gonna dip a new word.
Yes.
But first time on your podcast. But that kind of makes sense. So the habits of self-development led to continuously improving myself to someone that became someone that could be successful. And along the journey, focusing on physical and mental health. And then the last thing is just constantly being aware of my thoughts and my emotional state, because most people don't understand it's your emotions that cause your actions as far as, let's say a deal falls apart and you can't handle your emotional state and you go out and you cause a problem with the title company or partner and you ruin a relationship or you come home and you fight with the spouse or the kids. So our emotions lead towards all sorts of decisions that can cause problems or eliminate problems. And so here I am at the poker table. Let's say I lose a hand, and I get frustrated. I can lose more hands after that if I play bad after that. So all these things go hand in hand together. But yeah, those are some of the things that kind of I focused on along my journey.
Oh, those are great. I like that. I think we forget about that when we're building, when we're working so hard, we forget to take care of ourselves. And so I
Yeah.
think that's a really good thing to touch on. Okay. What is your next big goal for the Wolfpack, and how should future agents and leaders plug into that path?
Yeah, I mean, the big goal is 10,000 agents. That's what we've been working towards since the beginning. And what I think is going to happen right now is we've been through a horrific 4 or 5 years. Not to go into politics, I think everybody's seeing the news the reason why, and certain people are about to get arrested for sure. And we all knew this was going on, but this was a horrible black eye in our country and a horrible mindset shift and mood shift and financial hit. And it's just been a horrific,
Yeah.
past, time that we've been going through. But as everybody's paying attention, things are improving rapidly and greatly, and the market's getting close to where we're going to see if you guys are looking at what's happening with interest rates. So if you think about the last big market explosion a year or two into the pandemic, when everything was taking off and eXp had this big growth rate, what caused it? Well, there's a massive drop in interest rates, and then what happens there is a lot of people are active in buying and selling houses, and then agents are out there making a lot of money. And then when agents are making more money, they have more free time because they have more over here as a surplus with their transactional business. So now they can put more time into their team building business, which helps attraction. But also the main thing that happens is as the real estate market picks up, you're going to see on TV the mainstream media say real estate's hot again. And what happens there is people that are struggling in different industries are going to say, well, I'm struggling here. They're looking for environmental shifts. So they're going to say, well, maybe I'll get a real estate license. And I think we're going to see a big influx in real estate licenses coming in over the next couple of years. Also, I think you're going to see a lot of people that have been sitting idle, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. There's a lot of agents that are not agents right now. They're licensed, but they're not in the game. That's if that makes sense. They're here, but they're not playing. You're going to see a lot of those people hop off the bench and get back in. And then you're going to see the ones that have been playing with a frustrated mindset get more excited with a pumped up mindset. So as they start cutting interest rates, production income's going to go up, rev share attraction businesses are going to grow, and income's going to go up. And you're going to see, in my opinion, a lot of people get super excited. And I think you're going to see it growth coming again. So this is where I'm trying to get people really focused on what's coming. And so I think we're going to move into a couple year window where we're going to see decent growth. But the main goal is to get to 10,000 agents long term.
Love that. Can't wait. I'm glad to be a part of
Yeah,
that.
coming. Next
Okay, last question, bonus
one.
question.
Yeah.
If you could leave agents listening with one takeaway on building legacy businesses, what would it be?
Uh, yeah, just like we said before, focus on building equity and building passive income.
Yeah.
So if you build, let's say for, and also build something as far as like a legacy that can be passed down. Well, so now that, let me rephrase, I'm going to back up. Well, there's a lot of things you can do for a legacy. For one, do what you're doing right now on social media. This is a historic archive. So you guys that have kids and families behind you, I was thinking about this the other day, like all the trainings and archives, things that I have someday, if I have a son, he's going to be able to go back through that and see all that and see what his dad did and see, who his dad was. Like I didn't get to see this with my father. I didn't get to see this with my mother. We hear the stories of our parents or grandparents, but you guys can leave a legacy in video form, and the things that you're doing today will stay on the internet tomorrow. So that's one thing. But as far as like creating wealth and a legacy behind you, something that can be passed upon or passed down. Once you go, you can't trade time anymore for income. So how do wealthy people pass this on? They pass it on through owning land. They pass it on through owning real estate. And real estate is one of the best ways to pass generational wealth to your family because it's long-standing and everlasting. And also, let's say you built a big team, and that's the cool thing with the eXp revenue share model. It's willable. For some reason, I build this big business, and 15 years from now, I have children, and I tragically pass away for some reason in a car wreck or something like that, well, guess what? They're going to inherit that business, and I leave not just a legacy behind, but something that protects the generational line of my family going forward. So also just, right now I've been fortunate enough and blessed enough to achieve financial goals. So I'm going back and chasing previous childhood and life goals and early life goals. And that's what I encourage all you guys to do is build your financial freedom and go back and go and take down and chase down previous goals in life. So as I've seen a lot of alpha leaders and beta leaders at EXP build big incomes, you see them go back and chase previous goals. So like that's why I'm playing poker right now. So I've been able to win two world championships this year, and I've broken two world records this year. And so that's something that is important for me because that was probably the most difficult moment in my life that was taken from me. And this is me going back and facing old demons and meeting them on the battlefield and chopping their heads off and rolling back to their father in hell and saying, you lost. I
Yeah.
won. I never gave up. It didn't matter if I took 10 years off, I came back to finish what I started. And so I encourage you guys, if you ever walked away from something in your mind that you didn't finish, because life caught up. You needed to make bills, which is what happens. We all have goals and dreams of things that we want to do in life, but then life kicks in, and then we have to, go provide a living for ourselves. But if you build this business right and you build a residual income, you can go back and chase down any goal that you want. You can start a charity, that you could leave a legacy with. You could, do anything and everything you want when you have your time and money freedom. But that's only given to you by passive income. So that's the most important thing for you guys to create the life that you want and do the things that you want with your life is to have the time to do it, but also the money to do it. And that comes from one thing, passive income. So focus heavily on that, make that your main goal set, and go get your legacy and do what you want with your life.
That's perfect. I love that. Well, I want to thank you so much for your time and for sharing all of this amazing value with everyone. And for those of you watching, if you got value from this conversation, make sure to comment, like, and subscribe so you don't miss future agent success stories. If you are on track to hit your goals and would like to partner with both of us to make sure you get back on track, click the link in the description to book a private Zoom call with us. And I will also link all of Connor's stuff below for anyone who would like to follow him as well. So until next time, thank you.
Thanks, guys.